I'm Kata, and this is Torn City News. Welcome to the second part of episode 30. Oh, and shameless mug plug again. I don't really like talking about things that I haven't read up on, so I went back and read the threads on the JFA Milk and Cookies merge. They were really, really long. Not quite as long as the IBB JFA Lily Nova thread, which was 48 pages. I gave up on that one for now, but still pretty impressive. In reading the merge thread, a few things really stuck out to me. One, I don't remember who said it, but someone said that this merge would ruin the souls of both factions. I think they were pretty spot on with that. Natural selection just doesn't have the same feel as JFA, and it really seems too bad. JFA had a good thing going on, and I think part of the momentum that they had before the merge stemmed from the feelings behind the faction, like the idea of the faction. A former JFA NS player was even quoted as saying, "Several players have left NS and moved over to Psychos and other factions because NS is shit after the merge and 4 has a stick up his ass." 2, Milky Assholes would have been most of Torn's preferred choice for the new name for the faction. 3, Nova stepped up his poaching game. This was all possibly an elaborate plan for Nova to poach JFA in its entirety over to Milk and Cookies, although it does seem like JFA absorbed Milk and Cookies more so than the other way around. When I look at natural selection, I generally think JFA, not Milk and Cookies, which is kind of weird. Number 4, Champion is allowed to call Raider Gator without being threatened with Fed. 5, Mason, oh, I think that's how you say his name, is either really bad at memes and insults or off his meds or both. 6, reading threads like this all at once, they just turn into a bunch of no you back and forth, and eventually it gets really annoying and really grating. Number 7, JFA and Milk and Cookies have removed themselves from the JF family. Number 8, the most entertaining part of the whole thread was when Sky and Lily started in on each other. I was surprised to see Lily imply that Sky wasn't quite as squeaky clean as she generally seems to be in the game. Not sure if there's a nugget of truth to that or not. Lily may be a bitch, but she's generally not a liar. And lastly, what the hell is with canned macaroni and cheese? You UK folks are crazy with your toast sandwiches and weird canned foods. Plus, as outlined in a thread by Druid H, you have no clue what lemonade is. Talking about the merge segues us nicely into the war against SA that never happened. This confuses me a bit because I don't really see why Midnight saying it's not SA's warring season really needs to stop natural selection from warring them. From my understanding, SA moved territories, so NS can now have the territory they were going to war for without a war, but couldn't natural selection just, I don't know, still war them like for fun? When I wrote this, NS declared on one of CR's territories, although representatives from Chain Reaction were saying that they were going to give NS that territory anyway, so the whole thing was kind of pointless. Natural selection, like JFA, did take over Mexico for a bit in May, which is always fun, but I think it would be a lot more fun if they actually did something different, because they'd already done that before. The only addition this time was that they said that they were building a wall, which they might have actually said that last time too. I don't really remember. But I remember there were rumors about them taking over Switzerland, which I think would be a lot more fun, especially if they did it like right before a big war, like some other factions' big war. That would be amusing. Let's see. After rumors that Insurgency failed to follow through with their promises to support lower-ranking factions, Chain Reaction 2.0 and Elite Retro were sold. The articles in the paper reference that the smaller factions involved in Insurgency felt like they were left behind to fend for themselves when Ton came after them once the dust settled from the main warring. We Are Rising, led by Wall Street, once claimed to be staunch supporters of Insurgency, found themselves used and abused in Sector 7 shortly after they helped SA One Punch attack territories held by Mentos and Cola. Unrelenting 2.0 was also said to have removed themselves from the group. Do you think the members of Insurgency should have shown more responsibility in defending the lower-ranking factions that supported them, or do you think that they are doing a pretty good job so far? Well, I'm really excited that we have a new reporter today. Prof has decided that he's going to join the ranks of TCN reporter. So, without further ado, on to you, Prof.
Thank you, Kata. First off, I'll start by apologising for my terrible, dodgy Scouse accent. And if anyone would like subtitles for the next edition, please post requests in the comments section below. As most of you have probably heard or seen for yourselves, Torn's released some new merchandise. Kat has asked me to ask you to go and buy her mug. And if you don't know where to find the catalogue, I'll include a link to the Redbubble site at the end of the video. Merchandise features characters from the game such as Evil Duck, Champion, Bogey, Pop Top, Leslie, and many more, with some fun and quirky options there to try and entice you to pop from your cash. They're also taking new ideas for Torn merch, and Kat has created an official thread so staff can keep all these ideas in one place. I'd also like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to Evil Duck for his unboxing of his Torn merch video, which was pretty hilarious. And if you've not seen it for yourselves, I'd recommend going and checking it out in general discussion. NPCs are now lootable, with Duke and Leslie now finding themselves spending lots of time in hospital. However, unlike with Scrooge, it's now random participants that are awarded the loot, with players who put in more effort being more likely to gain an item. These items include both clothing and also rare weapons, a couple of notable ones being Leslie's pink Beretta Pico, and also some dual MP5s that recently found themselves in the auction house selling for over 10 billion, so it's well worth getting involved in those attacks. Personally though, I'm more excited about the new riding crop item that literally allows players to spank another player, and I'll be doing my best to try and get me hold of one of them. There's been a change implemented to the bounty system, with the person placing the bounties now able to leave a little heartfelt message as to why the poor blighter is being bountied. In my opinion, this adds a little bit more fun to the game. However, people have also subversively been exploiting this in an attempt to get others into trouble. This includes recently when a faction paid for bounties to be placed on people anonymously, with the message "paid for by Sharky5" being left. This led to Sharky himself creating a forum post, waving his big balls around and telling people that he likes his targets to know he's paid for the privilege. May saw the inaugural Tornavision 2019 contest, which was a song contest styled on the Eurovision. All entries were listened to by an unfortunate panel of judges, with 13 finalists eventually being chosen. These entries were then put to a public vote, giving the Torn community a week to decide the winner. There were a number of tactics used by people to try and gain support, including one individual actually spamming trade chat with offers of cash in exchange for voting for their entry. In the end though, it was Reddit who won, serial killer Kyle finished second, and myself just pipping Cranny to third place. There was a lot of salt thrown after the contest in all directions, some of which was pretty funny, and if you haven't read it or even listened to the entrance, then I'll link the thread at the end of this video, and well done to you if you make it through all the songs. The 5th of July will see the start of the annual Mr. and Miss Torn contest, in which guys and gals post a photo to gain the highest rating as voted for by other members of the Torn community, all in an attempt to win a much coveted imaginary crown. Hopslam won the Mr. Torn Crown contest last year with his imaginative entry, in which he'd essentially hulked his way through a door. Suck My Gypsy scooped the Miss Torn crown after posing on a bed with her pussy and her plushies out. I'm looking forward to seeing the creative ideas from this year's entrance, and let's face it, the boobs also make it a little bit more enjoyable too. Just to quickly cover some other features that have been added to the game, players can finally edit their poll options now after a post has been submitted. This long-awaited change is especially welcomed to the game by Marlon Brando, who's famous for boasting about the size of his poll. Banking interest rates are now much more realistic with the new interest rate boost feature that was recently implemented. As with most features to the game, however, players have found a reason to complain, claiming that most people that have invested merits into their banking interest rates have essentially been chedded. But what's new? This then links nicely with a new ability for players to ban themselves from the casino. Those players that feel their addiction to blackjack, slots, Russian roulette, and normal roulette, etc. is a little bit too strong, can self-exclude themselves from the casino. To do this, you need to contact a moderator or an admin. However, in the wise words of Bogey, we'd recommend sleeping on such a decision first though. Other changes to the game include new hairstyles and profile backgrounds being added. These are added to the token shop, likely in an attempt to get old and bold players out of the wheelchairs, and participating in community events once again. Uh, New titles have been added to the game that include Boxer, Alcoholic, Mercenary, Addict, Medalist, Accomplice, Slayer, Mobster, and Nudist. Though don't go getting any ideas about posting nudes to your profile, save them for Snapchat like I do. And last but not least, the days of people yelling in global, please fed me staff, are now over. If a player wants to remove themselves from the game, they can use the new account closure feature that can be found in your account settings. This doesn't actually mean a complete end to your playing experience though, as players can close their account but then reopen it once they change their mind, which to me actually doesn't really mean anything. Why not just stop playing the game? That's all I've got for this edition. So until next time, I'll pass you back to Kata.
Thanks for that update, Prof, and glad to have you with us. Georgie411 of Calculating dropped a dirty bomb on PT Calculated. The feud between these two factions is ongoing, with The Boss, formerly a leader of PT Calculated, currently leading Calculating, and also other members like Alone/Hotshot in the faction. Speculation is that Hotshot was a loud voice behind the choice of recipients for the bomb, and that the two factions are quarreling over the use of the name. It looked like PT Calculated was going to retaliate with a bomb of their own, but that might have been all hype and no follow-through. Only time will tell, I guess. An anonymous source is quoted as saying, PT is more pissed about Calculating supposedly poaching their members. Many current and previous PT members are incredibly annoyed being there, so convincing them to leave is an easy task. When their outspoken leaders consist of a semi-retired player and players like Mikey, who should be participating in other types of Olympics instead of playing Torn, PT has lost about half its members and is still losing members pretty consistently. DE and HT split up, but even with the apology from Champ about Dirty Dog in thread, I still had a hard time reading it. Something about Dirty Dog and Mick investing billions into the merge and then not getting leadership and then leaving but not getting the money they invested back. Maybe. Champ, you were wrong. Google Translate didn't even help that one. 39th went after MMCP again, which actually, an interesting tidbit that I just read in the newspaper was that 39th apparently, I didn't realize this, is the oldest faction in Torn, and Tyler is the oldest faction leader. So that was kind of neat. That was a fun article if you haven't read it yet. But this whole going after MMCP thing with them seems to be a reoccurring theme. Although this time there was a player named Big Dick that was in MMCP who liked to talk a lot of shit. A million memes later, Big Dick was removed from MMCP and went to join Dragno's faction, which was then led by Lady Fox, but Dragno, now Cyber Hack or something like that, is now leading again. On a sad note, not too long ago, the real SA finally lost its fight with the fake SA over the name Subversive Alliance. The faction was renamed Psychos in an effort by Champion to show that they are serious about their gameplay. The name change is probably smarter for recruitment and has coincided with the rumor that Champion will be actually training his stats instead of just flexing his karma muscles all over the forums like he has been for years. Hopefully this works out for them, and I wish them the best in their future endeavors. Unless it involves breaking our chains. Then they can eat a duck. I said duck, not dick. Thank you. And that is all we have for now. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I know it was really, really long. I'm assuming that I'm probably going to break it up in 2 parts, but I haven't decided for sure yet. Anyway, keep it classy, Torn.